Once again, good morning, Talisay, and welcome to another week of continuing your efforts for learning. Now, we are now on Unit 2, and we're tackling Lesson 5, which is focused on the literary selection of Lesson 5. Now, Unit 2, Broadening Horizons, opens us to Lesson 5 with the following objectives. Mary, can you read the four objectives?
Analyze the author's attitude toward the theme or subject of a text. Express opinions regarding the author's perspective. Identify internal conflict in a text. Analyze characters through the internal conflict they experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. So that's what we are trying to achieve this morning in terms of our objectives by using the literary selection Rashomon by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. Now, our objectives are in line with our school's philosophy, vision, mission, goals, and objective. As GCCians, we are having this lesson connected to our vision and mission as well as our core values. Hoping that we achieve the objectives, we also achieve, okay, the development of your critical thinking and creative thinking skills, of course, with 21st century skills. That through understanding literature, through analyzing this work, you'll be able to develop your critical thinking and become creative individuals in the analysis, and of course, with 21st century skills, all connected to be part of our development, of your development as GCCNs. Now, from the text, you probably have imagined, we're talking about the Rashomon. Now, what is a Rashomon? Anyone or anybody has an idea? Now, the Rashomon is actually a grand gate, a gateway in the ancient Japanese um, era period of the Heian period, in Kyoto. Now, in Kyoto, Japan, there is this large entranceway, large triumphal gate. They call that the Rashomon. And this is a rendition of how the Rashomon is. The picture on the slides that you can see, that's their interpretation of what the Rashomon looks like. But the Rashomon in the story that you have read is already dilapidated, is already partly destroyed, or is already in shambles, or of no use anymore. Now, why is that so? As you have found out in the story, that the Rashomon has been through many historical events in that particular setting. It has survived wars, earthquakes, and other disasters. That's why it became no longer an object of beauty, but an object of ridicule and a sore, no, a sore for the eyes, an eyesore in that particular story context. Now, the story Rashomon is written by Japan's foremost writer, Ryunosuke Akutagawa. So he is considered the Japanese father of the short story. And in fact, their prize for a short story, the most prestigious prize is the Akutagawa Prize. And when he was young, or he started young, in high school, Akutagawa already started loving and writing literature. So let's go over the summary of Rashomon, since it's a longer text and it might be that some of you haven't finished. Could you read the first slide for us, Michaela?
On a rainy evening, a recently dismissed servant sits beneath the Rashomon gate of Kyoto. After earthquakes and fires, the capital is such decline that, according to old records, people sell smashed Buddhist statues for firewood. The Rashomon gate is in disrepair, with peeling lacquer. It has become a disreputable hideout for thieves and a dumping ground for corpses. Th- Though the narrator opens by though the narrator opens by stating that the servant is waiting for the rain to end, the servant actually has no idea what he will do after the rain stops. Without work, he may be forced to become a thief. The servant worries at growing pimple.
Okay, thank you, Michaela. So that's the beginning, that's the opening of Rashomon. There's a dismissed servant, there's a man, okay? He was a servant who was currently dismissed. And because he was dismissed or got fired out of work, so he went to under the eaves of the Rashomon to bide his time from the rain because it was already evening. Now he knew that the Rashomon is already a place of disrepair or it's already dilapidated. It's no longer maintained. No? Its lacquer is already peeling. Ang iyang mga art, ang iyang mga panels or walls. Now, because he doesn't have work anymore, the servant was reflecting or contemplating whether he will just become a thief. Okay, because the Rashomon is a hideout for thieves, a dumping site for dead bodies, and usually people hiding the Rashomon are criminals or scavengers. Can you read the next slide, please, Fiona?
Because he has nowhere to go, he decides to go up to the room above the gate to try to sleep. He doesn't expect to find anyone alive there. Halfway up the stairway, he sees a light and realizes someone else is already in the room. Feeling 6 parts terror and 4 parts curiosity, he creeps up to the top. Above, male and female corpses are piled grotesquely on top of each other. An old woman in a rust-colored robe moves among the dead. She plants a burning pine stick into the floor for light and begins to pull hair from the head of a dead woman.
So when the dismissed servant went upstairs in the Rashomon, he found out that there was already another person there, a woman, who was pulling out dead hairs from the piled corpses or the piled corpse in the second level of the Rashomon. Princess Shane, can you read the next slide?
The man is morally horrified, and he feels a revulsion for all things evil, though he had just been considering becoming a robber. His feeling of righteous horror convinces him he would rather starve than debase himself by stealing. He, he draws his sword and confronts the old woman, who stumbles over the corpses as she tries to flee. He grabs her. They fight among the corpses, but he easily overcomes her.
So upon seeing that woman who was pulling out hairs from the dead bodies, from a dead woman's hair also, I mean dead woman's skull, the servant became furious. He was angry. Why would someone pick out dead hairs or the hair of the dead? And it was a sort of criminal act. He was stealing. I mean, the man considered the old woman to be stealing from the dead body. So he tries to confront her and they struggle, but he overpowers the woman who was taking out hairs. Okay, can I have Michaela read again, please, this next slide?
The servant fidgets with his pimple again as he listens. A new kind of courage began to germinate in his heart, the narrator says. However, it is the opposite of the courage brought on by his earlier revulsion. He has now decided to be a thief. He mocks the old woman, saying she must then also understand what he is doing. He steals her robe and leaves her naked among the corpses, kicking her on his way out. When she rises to look out into the night after him, she sees only darkness. The narrator says no one knows what happened to the servant.
So the servant now, because he was angry and he confronted the old woman, he now decides that he will become a thief, steals the robe of the old woman, leaves her naked, and then went out of the Rashomon. And then, actually, that's how the story ended. Is that how you understand how it flowed from what you have read? Did you follow that
Yes,
summary
sir.
from what you have read? Okay, that's good. I hope the others also will do. Now, as a short story, as short stories do, it has plot. The plot of the story shows the progression. I hope you are familiar with plot. Okay, it begins with the introduction, the rising action, the climax, and the falling action. The introduction gives us an awareness of the setting, of the characters, of the conflicts that are in the story, while the rising action are the events that will lead to the solution to the problem or to the conflict. As the climax is the highest point in the story where the character makes a decision to solve a particular conflict or problem of the story. And then, of course, the falling action. It's where all the events, as a result of the climax, slowly goes down and the story will end in the resolution. So that's the plot diagram, or that's how the plot diagram goes. Now, if we're going to plot, if we're going to identify the plot of Rashomon, then it will flow like this, or this is the flow. Okay, Mary, can you read in order of the plot? What is the plot structure of Rashomon? Begin with the introduction and with the resolution.
A servant shelters from the rain under the Rashomon gate. He worries he will have to steal to survive. He finds an old woman stealing hair from abandoned corpses. Corpse. The servant is moved to righteous moral fury. He overpowers her and she begs for her life. The woman says everyone lies and steals to survive. He steals her clothes and disappears into the night.
So thank you so much, Mary. So that's the progression of the plot of Rashomon. Now, as we try to understand this, as we will try to understand, let us go into the comprehension questions on Tech Teach. Now, since there are one, two, three, four, five of you, Emmanuel is here also. So I'll give you time to think about and share your answers. For question number one, okay, question number one, Emmanuel, you will answer question number 1 in the after reading comprehension questions. Question number 2, okay. Mary will answer question number 2. Number 3, Fiona. Number 4, Mikaela. And then number 5 will be Princess Shane. Okay. Again, Emmanuel, number 1. Number 2, Mary. Number 3, um, Fiona. Number 4, Mikaela. Number 5, Princess Shane. I'll give you around 3 minutes for you to compose your answers. Okay, so let's hear your answers. Please
Raise
read
and
the
answer.
question. Okay, sige. Let's have some more time. Okay, let's begin with where's Eman? He's supposed to answer number one. Okay, let's just go to number two. Please read and then give out your answer.
Who are the characters in the story? What problem are they both experiencing? Cite passages from the story to support your answer. Kuan sir, ang kaning narrator o katong old woman sir, consider Japan sila na character sir.
Yes, the characters. The narrator, of course, is part of the story.
The first one sir is kuan the narrator sir. So the narrator does not really appear as a character in the story, yet it guides the reader somehow to kuan bitaw sir, to know or to give some information about what the story is all about. Then next there is katong dead woman is ang dead woman is according to the old woman who is plucking her hair used to pass off snake meat as a fish to sell to the palace guards. Then next one sir is the servant. Since his employer has dismissed him and he worries about his future, when he's not sure about his future, he's nervous. Then the next one sir is the old woman. So the old woman is described as kanang kuan bitaw sir, is very poor bitaw sir, and very pity to kuan sir to look. Then the so kaniting next na question sir nga what problem are they both experiencing is that is on how to survive bitaw in the future sir. Then some passages dayon na nagpakita sir is the first one kaning sa servant sir, kay kaning a lowly servant trapped by the rain had nowhere to go and didn't know what to do. Then ang kani dayon sa old woman dayon sir, kay when she's stating na I'm taking this hair, I'm taking this woman's hair while I thought I'd make a wig so that kanang para bitaw makasurvive sir. So mura both sila nga naay kanang similarities bitaw to ang ilahang kuan sir problema sa story.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mary. You pointed out that their main concern is how can they or how they will be able to survive, and what they were doing. For example, the old woman plucking out hairs from a dead woman tries to make a living by making wigs. And the servant who is now dismissed is also contemplating, since he does not have any more work or job to do, then he might be he might be considering becoming a thief because he is already dismissed, okay, from his work. So their question of existence or their question of survival was a problem for both of them. Yeah, that's a good thing that you have pointed out. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, question number 3.
How do each of them solve their problem? What reasons do they give to justify their actions? In your opinion, which character persuaded you better? Explain your answer. Answer. Both the old woman and the man struggled to live. The old woman dealt with that problem by doing whatever she can. She cut snakes and sold them and even meddled with the corpses lying on the ground. The man, on the other hand, dealt with this problem by resorting to violence and stealing from the old woman. For me, both of them persuaded me in how to get by with dealing of survival because just what the old woman said, everyone steals in order to survive. Considering bitaw sir nga kanang both of them had nothing, which was understandable why they did something immoral just like stealing and meddling with the corpses, sir.
Okay, Fiona. But for you, who had more, shall we say, um, who was more good? Who was better among the two?
Kuan sir, ang old woman sir kay kanang murag ang iyaha lang gid sir is kanang makasurvive bitaw siya sir nga kanang dili pud siya ingon nga makasakit sa uban bitaw sir awat sa just like dili awat sa kanang gibuhat didtong man nga he kanang resorted to violence and hurt the old woman bitaw sir. As for the old woman kanang iyang gihilabtan kay ang mga kuan na sir mga corpses sir.
Yes, because remember the old woman was saying, patay naman sa din sila. I did not do anything wrong because remember the Rashomon was a dump site for dead bodies, the corpses. So the old woman justifies, wala naman sa ni mga pulos, kagipang labay ng inidinhi, and I'm just trying to make a living by making a wig. But the servant who was, at first, he was angry because ka, kaluod ba daning old woman or kadautan ba niya, wala man siya respect sa dead body sa mga narito. But later on, he realized nga, um, kanang dautan para sa iya ang gihimo sa old woman, pero wala niya na-realize nga iya sang himo is dautan gihapon. And even worse because he tried to hurt the old woman, took off her robe, and then kicked her, di ba, on as he escaped the Rashomon and became a thief. So even the servants, the character of the servant is actually trying to undergo some change, okay? A particular change um, in his personality from first becoming righteous, no? First nasuko siya kay nangawat dito, nangawat og mga buhok, no, from the dead bodies, and then karon na sad siya na sa dayang nahimong kawatan by robbing the old woman. Okay. Number 4, question number 4.
Wait lang, sir. Ako sa ng questions. Number 4, how do the characters differ from each other? In what manner are they the same? Give specific descriptions from the story. The servant was morally good, and yes, he did thought about stealing, but he did it not just to survive, not just because he wants to survive. He did it out of hatred and anger for himself. He's like mentally asking himself, why is he stopping himself from doing something that others also do in order to survive? It's like if he didn't meet the old woman, he'd choose to die starving rather than surviving doing something he thought is immoral. It was leading him, like it was stated in the literal resurrection, sir, that it was leading him in the completely opposite direction of the courage he had when he climbed up the gate and grabbed the old woman. Since di ba sir iya manggi katong nisaka na siya sir, ana siya nag-una na lagi siya, he thought of stealing, but kanang ana siya nga, kanang he was a morally good person bitaw sir, so kanang ana siya nga mamatay na lang siya nga kanang gigutom sir, rather than doing something bitaw sir nga para sa iya sir
Yes.
kay dili ko maayo. So kanang murag nabali bitaw siya sir, so kunang if wala to niya na meet, if he didn't meet the old woman sir, I think sir kanang dili yun ta siya mahimog thief bitaw siya sir, dili ta siya mahimog kawatan. So I think sir they have something in similar sir, kanang they have something in common because they both are thieves bitaw sir, they are trying to survive in a way sir nga mag-steal bitaw sila sir sa mga gamit sir, kanang mga gamit sir, o kanang kato bitong buhok sir nga yang kawat sir kay mo niya og wig, so they are trying to survive by stealing sir.
Okay, yes, thank you, Michaela. The difference is that the old woman was already sort of doing that out of her livelihood, di ba? Murag iyan ang panginabuhi tong making a wig, no? And taking it from the corpses. While the servant is actually just beginning to shape his future. Maunsa siya after he was being dismissed or kicked out of his work. Okay? So, in the same way, there are both thieves, no? Pero mas worse si servant. Okay? Number 5. Number 5.
Sir, if you were the summarized assistant, how would you do the old lady? Why? Uh, if I were the samurai assistant, sir, I will confront the old lady because it is the easiest way bitaw, sir, na to deal with her bitaw sir kay it's kuan bitaw sir kung ako bitaw siyang kanang pasakitan bitaw sir inana bitaw sir kay kind of kuan bitaw sir disrespectful bitaw for me sir kay makawala bitaw og reputation bitaw sa ako as sir kung ako siyang pasakitan bitaw sir then kay total bitaw sir kay iha ra man sang gikawat kay kanang buhok ra man sad bitaw sa katong patay sir then kuan kanang I will confront her, sir, kay, so that I could make a solution for her problem bitaw, sir, especially sa kanang financial problem, sir, kay, sa, base siya giingon, sir, kay, in order to survive, m- mukawat na lang bitaw siya, sir, inana, and then, mga to, sir, ako na lang siya i-confront in order to para amo bitaw maistoryanon sa iyang problema sir inana.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, of course, as a samurai is an an honored warrior, a warrior with um, a blessing. Okay, and he is as an assistant of the samurai. You're also a sort of you share in the nobility of the master that you're serving. You also are given that honor. You also follow code of conduct or um, proper protocol. So yes, probably you could accost the woman by confronting her with her crime, if it's a crime, or her um, mistreatment of sacred bodies, because the dead is considered sacred even if they are dumped in that Rashomon. The story actually presents some sort of moral ambiguity. It doesn't really give us a sort of lesson on what it is to do good or to be particular of what's the right or wrong thing to do. The story does not present, and that's one of the fascination for Ryunosuke Akutagawa's work. He just presents a particular reality. Okay, the the symbolism of the Rashomon and describing the end of the Heian period in Japan also gives a background of what happens to them in terms of their culture, in terms of their changing values in community or in society, as depicted by the characters Akutagawa has created in his classic Rashomon. This actually was made into a film, into a movie by the world famous and very renowned Japanese director um, Yasunari Akira Kurosawa. Okay, so this classic story was made into a classic movie by another Japanese great artist or filmmaker, Akira Kurosawa, in the late 50s. So it tells of how can society, okay, work together. How can societies become better if there are these particular situations that haunt people, that question their values and question not just their personal values but the values of a whole group or a whole culture of people. The characters reflect not just themselves but they reflect people in society. Some people prey on one another. When you say prey on one another, there's always a person considered to be weak, of lower rank, of a weaker position, and there are those who are of a higher or stronger position. Of course, the strong will prey on the weak, and it becomes a cycle. The old woman was praying. When I say praying, it's not praying P-R-A, the Y, it's P-R-E-A, pray. The old woman was scavenging from the dead bodies. The dead bodies are weak. Why? The dead bodies cannot move. They are dead, of course. So who is stronger between the dead body and the old woman? The old woman. So that's why she was abusing her being stronger because the dead bodies cannot do anymore. Di naman makapugong tong patay kung laruton yung buhok tanan. The woman wants to survive, the old woman. But between the old woman and the dismissed servant, who is much stronger? The dismissed servant. That's why the dismissed servant overpowered the old woman, stole her robes, and um, also became a thief. No? So it becomes like a cycle. The weak is being preyed on by the stronger. But if you think you are stronger, maybe, okay, you're somebody else's prey. Diba? The predator and the prey. Abi sa old woman, isog na siya, gamhanan na siya, datong patay nga lawas. Pero ang old woman, igo ra siya gi-pray dito sa or datong servant. Kay mas kus ka naman ang servant sa iya. The idea that kung akala mo ikaw na yung malakas, para sa iba, mahina ka pa pala. At pwede ka nilang tuklawin. Di ba? And, it becomes a cycle. The thief, of course, dato nga story, ang thief ang pinaka-strong, but we don't know what happened to him, to the servant. What if he becomes a criminal? A criminal is already put down in society. Unsaon man siya kung makitaan siya sa mga authorities, mga police, mga samurai nga tinuod, mga guard, royal guards. Siya na po ng luoy dito nga case, di ba? So, it actually presents the social hierarchy or social structure. Na naagi mas labaw, naasagi mas ubos. And it becomes repetitive, di lang from the time of the high-end period, but even today. Okay? There are people who abuse, oppress their power to those who are helpless, to those who are powerless. I think you have seen that in the news or in social commentaries. Daghan ang mga agpangdaog-daog. Daghan sad ang dinaog-daog. Inaapi at mang-aapi. So that's what the Rashomon tries to reflect, that if we are not conscious of the way we treat other people, we might just be able to breed violence. And violence becomes a cycle that will be hard to break. Di ba? Kung ikaw na kay manghod, imong sugo-sugoon. Pero ikaw sa napo kay ate or kuya, ikaw po sugod-sugoon niya. Di ba, Morabag? Is this a cycle of revenge or a cycle of repetitions of power and weakness? Okay, that is what also the Rashomon tries to question. I hope you realize that one after reading this story or after reflecting, because that's how the Japanese really works in their literary forms. They bring so much questions about life, about values, but you cannot see it immediately. You have to really analyze from the elements that they present in their stories. So for your assignment, you will answer the rest of the comprehension questions number 6 to 10. So that will be your assignment. Questions number 6 to 10, okay, that will be your assignment. You can write it on any piece of paper or in your notebook. You can send it to the tech teach. You can upload, or you can take a picture and send it to my personal message, as a personal message. By the way, next week, again, will be the exam on the 25th and 26th. Okay, are there questions or clarifications?
Coverage exam, sir.
Okay, we will cover all the Unit 2 lessons that we have, okay, from Lesson 1, Lesson 2, and then Lesson 3, 4, and 5, the grammar workout, and the stories for Lessons 1, 2, and this lesson, Lesson 5. So ang stories will be from Lesson 1, Lesson 2, and then Lesson 5, and then the grammar will be Lessons 3, 4, 5. Okay, is that understood?
Okay, sir.
Okay. If you don't have any more questions, thank you so much for joining in today. We hope we could have more of your classmates. I hope they have also good signals so that they can join the virtual class. God bless on the rest of your activities for this week. Belated Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I hope you were able to share the love, most especially the love of God and the love of family. Thank you so much for your time. Keep safe, keep healthy, and keep motivated. See you all every time we see each other online or wherever. God bless you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye,
Yes,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.